Ladies and gentlemen, SideStrafe back with another episode of the Strafing Run, of course designed to keep you up to date on a fairly regular basis. And in the background today, we've got America's Army Proving Grounds. And this is some footage from a few nights ago where I was playing with my friends Warheart and T. You may recognize them from some of my old Battlefield videos, as well as the live stream that we had not so long ago. And you'll probably see them some more in Battlefield 4 once that hits. But for the time being, we're actually kind of enjoying America's Army. And I think it's because the pace is what we've been looking for. The run speed, the walk speed, the lethality, even in normal mode, is a lot better than what I'm able to find in a game like Battlefield 3. And with them just releasing or making available the new hardcore mode for America's Army, it's even better. The ballistics are just where I'd like them. It really doesn't take many rounds to drop somebody, and they've limited the amount of revives you can receive in the game. For example, in normal mode, I believe you get 2 revives. No matter where you hit, even hit in the head, torso, legs, whatever, if somehow you're killed, you can be brought back to life twice, unless you're secured. In hardcore mode, by default, you're now limited to 1 revive, and if you get shot in the head, no revives. Now, I would prefer no revives, period, but I can live and accept just the 1, because, well, you know, maybe it makes up for the fact that you're probably playing with a bunch of random people, and there's probably not a whole lot of team play going on, and, you know, mistakes happen, and it's a video game, so that 1 life, I think, can make up for the fact that it's just a game. So I can deal with that. You can already still bandage yourself and whatnot, but, you know, the fact that if you get shot in the head, all right, now you're out, you're done. At least there's that much, and I think that if you want to go even more hardcore within the config files, you can alter the settings, you can have no revives, and you could probably tweak a few other features as well. But of course here you're watching just normal mode because this is before they released the hardcore or made it available to us. Now, what else is in hardcore mode? Well, crosshair that's in the center of the screen when you're in hipfire mode is gone. The kill text that pops up on the top right hand corner of the screen is gone. The friendly markers that are above your teammates' heads so that you can see them in the distance is gone once your troops move out to about 25 feet or so. And that, I think that's one of those things that you could almost leave in just because, again, it's a video game. You're not cooperating with a real team of military professionals. You're, you know, again, in a server filled with random people, and there are certain things that I think just help with the game balance. You know, even as somebody that likes realism, knowing where your teammates are kind of makes up for the fact that you might not want to be on voice comms with a bunch of people just yelling and screaming and all that jazz. But what else? The indicator at the top in the middle of the screen that shows how many of the enemy are alive, it shows how many of your teammates is alive, that's also gone by default in hardcore. And I think those are just a few, but more of the core features that are, or elements that are removed in hardcore. And I'm fine with them. From what I saw of the default settings, you can still have your UI elements. You can still see your ammo count, your health, your grenade count, your little mini radar thing there. Those things, again, I'm not really against having a radar because in real life, you have better situational awareness. You have more peripheral vision. You can kind of tell where everybody's at. You're on radios. You're hanging around your platoon mates generally. Whereas in this game, you know, again, randoms, who knows what's going on. It's a good way to avoid friendly fire, perhaps, and just relay enemy coordinates and all of that. So, again, I'm not totally against having a map in a game because it makes up for things that you might otherwise have in reality. Ammo counter, stuff like that. Again, I really don't care. I don't mind knowing how many magazines I've got on me, because there are some hardcore games. If you look at Battlefield, for example, when you go into hardcore mode, they remove UI elements. They take away One thing that I know for sure they take away is the ability to see your fire select mode. Semi-automatic, full auto, or 3-round burst. Why would you remove that if it's on plain sight on your weapon, on the receiver of the weapon? You have safe, semi, full auto, maybe you have 3-round burst depending on the weapon. Why would you take that away in the game? Because I can look at my weapon and physically see that. You know, it just doesn't make any sense to me. But then you realize what it comes down to is just lazy programming, because the semi-auto or the selector switch UI element is probably part of one grouping that's one piece of code. It's either on or off, and there's no variation. So that's probably what that comes down to, but it's just a stupid little thing that they could fix in 10 minutes probably. But anyway, so, you know, I'm fine with having extra UI elements if it makes up for things that you might otherwise have in real life again. So hardcore mode for America's Army Proving Grounds is a good step in the right direction. There might be some things that are kind of iffy still. You know, in general with the aesthetics, I'm fine with most things. Sound effects still just need to be improved. They're absolutely horrible. And some of us had discussed the fact that, well, this is Proving Grounds. It's technically Army versus Army. You're just training together, but it's kind of in this weird, fictitious, I guess, gameplay environment where you kind of are using real ammunition, but you're still fighting your own people, so it doesn't really make too much sense there. But if you look in the menu interface option, there's a checkbox for use simunition rounds, and I think what that does is that's kind of like their way of making the game look less than lethal. But with that off, you're technically in a live fire exercise here, and you know what's really happening is that yes, you are killing people. You're not using simunition, and even if you were using simunition, from what I've seen, you know, the sound isn't going to change that much, because what a simunition round basically is a lower energy round. You've got your shell, except the tip is basically a kind of like a paint capsule. You know, we're not talking paintball or airsoft, but you're looking at something that looks like a real bullet, but has perhaps a smaller powder charge, and just has, you know, a paint capsule instead of the bullet itself. And I think the only other difference is the gun itself has been modified to only fire those simunition cartridges, and you could basically, you know, change those internal components out. It's a way of making it safe so that you can't put real ammunition into a gun when you're in a training exercise. The only other thing that I think that I'd like to see is some larger maps. I mean, that's Unreal Engine. We know that it's capable of creating large environments. I mean, if anybody has played any Unreal Engine game, and there are sure a lot of them, you know that it's a pretty capable engine and tool set. Take Terra Online, for example. Fantastic MMO. Well, let's go back. Okay, fantastic looking MMO. I mean, it's a pretty good game, but it obviously gets stale pretty quick, and there isn't much to do at the end game. Anyway, off topic. Fantastic looking MMO that makes great use of the Unreal Engine. Super large, beautiful environments. Outdoor worlds that are just jaw-dropping. So if they can do it, then I'm sure you can do it in a first-person shooter that only has a maximum of 24 player support. So, you know, I'd like to see it. I see one thing that happens a lot with shooters these days is that levels shrink instead of grow, because the majority of the planet Earth seems to want CQB, because people are inherently impatient. I just want to find the enemy fast, and then I want to find the next enemy fast, and I just want to have close quarters chaos. That's what people want. That's what the majority of the world wants. You give them big maps and they freak out. If you look at Battlefield, the game has suffered because of that. If you look, the best maps for Battlefield 3 are the Back to Karkin maps, which are maps that come from Battlefield 2, which includes Wake Island, which came from Battlefield 1942. there are larger maps. Wake Island's not so super large, but even in Battlefield 1942, the first Battlefield game that there ever was, the maps were enormous. Go back, download that game. It's free on Origin. If you've never seen it, just to take a look. One day if you're bored, jump in there. You can even load your own custom match versus bots. Yeah, you could actually fight bots back in the day. There was lots of options in PC games a long time ago. You could actually load up the maps, and they're enormous. In some cases, they're larger with stretched objective ranges that just outclass anything you've seen in Battlefield 3. It's ridiculous considering how old that game is now. And they had much larger maps that were built to handle vehicles, land, sea, and air. And when I talk about sea, we're talking about aircraft carriers and ships that could even be controlled and repaired. You could get on a destroyer and fix and repair a destroyer and drive it around. There was submarines, for frack's sakes. I mean, it was just absolutely nuts, the amount of features that are in there. But anyway, what I'm trying to say is that games are scaling down. They're not getting bigger. They're not adding more features. They're shrinking. One, because of consoles, and two, because people just want fast-paced action without having to find the enemy. So again, I hope America's Army makes use of the Unreal Engine, and I hope they add some outdoor levels. I know it's supposed to be built on like a training ground, proving ground thing, but I think, you know, soldiers need to train outdoors and in the woods as well, so hopefully they can set up some nice little forts that are located in a forest and that you could go and find each other. I mean, come on. Otherwise, I mean, if you look at these maps, as much as I generally hate snipers because it seems like everybody plays one and there isn't really too much limitation in most games to playing them, unless you play a game like Red Orchestra or whatnot, which actually has it done right. You know, in these maps, there's not much point in having the M14 sniper rifle. They're really, I mean, I can do just as well, especially in a hardcore game with the M4, and the M249 just seems a little underpowered in a way. But anyway, I think that's my rant and rave about America's Army Proving Grounds. Once again, I really get into it because it's something that I think has some great potential. But, you know, in regards to anything else that's going on with shooters, I'm still waiting for Battlefield 4. I'm not, like, super excited about it because I tend to get disappointed with what DICE has been up to these days. It just seems like they're trying to cater to the COD community, and a lot of people yell at me because I always bring up realism versus, you know, arcade and things like that. And yes, I can play an arcade game. I can be fine with that. I grew up playing games like Wolfenstein and Doom and graduated into Quake and Unreal Tournament. And if you think about it, what is Call of Duty really? Call of Duty is Unreal Tournament with a soldier skin. Be honest with yourself, guys. At the end of the day, that's what it is. There's just no fancy sci-fi aesthetics and weapons and craziness going on. That's what it comes down to. The gameplay is as fast. The ballistics have the same lethality. It's really what it is at the end of the day. If you look under the hood, you know, a lot of the numbers are the same. And I really think that when people come at me and they say, well, you know, having to shoot somebody 20 times requires more skill than hardcore, where it's just you shoot somebody once or twice and they're dead. I think it requires more skill to keep your aim on a target while he's moving around. And yes, in some case, does it require more twitch and hand-eye coordination skill? Yes, I'll agree with you. However, that's not the game that I want, and I make it well known. And I just don't agree with dressing up a game to look like something that would normally be considered realistic. When it at the end of the day, it just has Unreal or Quake gameplay, because that's what you want. At least admit to yourself that that's what you want. You want to play Unreal Tournament, but you want to be dressed up as a modern day soldier. That's what these games are. I mean, I'm sorry to burst your bubble, and if you haven't figured it out or analyzed yourself or what you're actually interested in, that's what it is. And I don't like that, because my brain, you know, I compute things pretty logically. I'm a logical person. When I think, okay, fantasy game, I can even look at Battlefield 2142, science fiction. It's sci-fi, Sure, maybe in the future we've developed better body armor and suits. It takes more bullets to kill somebody. Okay, I can accept that. Warhammer 40K, you're a genetically engineered human being, space marine that wears powered battle armor. Okay, I can understand why it takes longer to kill you. Anything that's sci-fi, Gears of War, well, you're just diesel-jacked, muscle-bound soldier with armor. Again, it takes a while. Anything like that. Halo, you're a Spartan super soldier. You've got crazy armor. It takes a while to kill you. Those things make sense. But when you dress somebody up in a soldier uniform of modern day that we can see on the news or TV, or you as perhaps an enlisted man or woman sees every day, it doesn't make sense that it takes 20 bullets to kill that in a video game. It's illogical. So that's how my brain sees it. It's like, why? This is what I'm supposed to look like then, and I don't know, I just can't go into the fantasy world of, yes, it takes 20 to the, how many times, it doesn't make sense. And you can argue body armor and plate carriers and all that kind of stuff, but when you're balancing out in the game, why is me shooting you in the leg not causing you to limp or be in agonizing pain? Why me shooting you in the arm is not causing your aim to decrease or your accuracy? Why am I able to bring you back to life? Well, why are all these little silly mechanics here? And if you want those silly mechanics, then shouldn't they exist in another Unreal Tournament or a Quake game? But see, that's the thing. You don't want to look like an Unreal Tournament guy. You don't want to look like a Quake guy. You want to look like a soldier, but you don't want to deal with reality. That's what it comes down to. At the end of the day, I have to rest my case. So that's what we got. Anyway, you can see really how passionate I am about the subject, because back in the day, we did have a game that answered all the problems. It was called Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six, 1, 2, and even 3 did a great job of it. Tom Clancy's Ghost Recon 1. They did fantastic jobs of bringing us into the realm of realism. We came from Quake and we went into the first Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six, and everything changed for us. For once, we had to walk slowly and run slowly and stick together with our team. 1 or 2 bullets could kill you, and you weren't coming back. They said, you know what? No more respawns, no respawning. That's just not a thing. I mean, things changed, and we thought that we had a new genre. And for a while, for many years, we did. And now it's just people came into those games and said, no. I'm tired of playing Unreal or Quake. I like being dressed as the soldier, but I want to respawn. I want to have real guns that I know about and that I see in the movies and on TV. But I want to respawn, and what why is it that I die with one? I don't want that. Why can't I run faster? And that's unfortunately the majority. That's more of the population of Earth seems to just want that. Well, why can't we have both? Well, because companies are greedy and they want to sell to the majority. So now developers are afraid to make the game that they want because they make the game that they feel that they need to create. So there's that. And you might be saying, well, SideStrafe, there's these other games. There's there's Arma that's still, fighting the good fight. Yes, they are. But unfortunately, I can't just hop into a server and have a team versus team match where I can engage quickly. And I don't mean in the impatient sense, but if I could have, again, I say this all the time. You're probably getting tired of hearing it. But I've always just wanted Arma's gameplay in battle with Battlefield's aesthetics and feel. I want the hardcore realism that Arma provides, but with the gameplay mechanics and feel of the engine that Battlefield has. That's it. Sure, do I love the giant areas, the islands, the continents that Arma and Bohemia have provided? Sure. But at the end of the day, getting into a match that's just team versus team, it's not easy. And sometimes maybe you find the right mod or the right server, and then there's some other issue in there. There's domination modes and whatnot, and apparently there's a mod out there that seems to think that they can label their server with, you're not allowed to film my mod. I'm like, I'm not. What rights do you have over the game engine? You don't own anything. This is a free mod. So I don't even know how that works. But yeah, I mean, there was a mod out there that I was getting ready to look at, and I jumped on the server and it said that you're not allowed to monetize any of the content filmed on that server. And I was like, well, I don't know if that's legal because you don't own the game engine. You don't own the game. You don't own the rights to that. I mean, you just made a free mod. I don't know what claim you have on that. So anyway, there's that. But, you know, I have to play on the safe side because I don't really know too much about legalities. And if there is some sort of loophole that they've got, you know, I'm not going to get in trouble over it. But again, I mean, that's the thing. Yes, ARMA exists, but is it easy to get a nice match of team on team that I would get out of a Battlefield title or an America's Army title or any other title? That's the problem I'm having. Somebody hasn't created that just yet, and I'm shocked that it doesn't just ship with it, ready to go. Make your server. Here's the quarantined area of the map, or here are the objective points. It just seems simple, but it never is because trust me, I've researched and looked into many different servers and mods, and just haven't found the right fit yet. You might say, okay, well, there's that one. What about Takedown, Red Saber? There's another game that's coming out soon that was a Kickstarter project, you know, headed up by one of the guys that used to work for Ubisoft. He was a modder for Ghost Recon and then helped with some of the later Ghost Recon games, which were not my favorite Ghost Recon games. That's when they started going downhill, so that's not saying a whole heck of a lot. But I've seen Takedown Red Saber. Unfortunately, I'm going to be honest, it just comes down to the aesthetics. It's an ugly looking game. The player models are bad. The sound effects are terrible, and the animations are just horrid. That's just the way it is, guys. I'm sorry, but maybe the gameplay is good, but I just can't get into the way the game looks. I mean, this game here, America's Army, looks 10 times better than it. And it's just, you know, I really don't know. And you know, I'm not a modeler. I'm not an artist, texture artist or anything, you know. I went to an art school for some time and learned a few things and picked up some tricks in here and there. But really, when it comes down to it, what they're providing is just not stellar. And I know the game's only about $15, but I just can't. It's like a huge downgrade for me to go back to something like that. It's just when you come out with a brand new game in 2013... to look like it does, I don't know. So, you know, we'll see. I wish them the best. Hopefully something comes of it. Maybe, you know, the genre starts to grow a bit more because of titles. In that, because of similar titles in that category. So, we'll see what happens. But yeah, I have heard of Takedown. I followed it since it was in Kickstarter. I really wasn't interested in it because for the longest time, it was pretty much vaporware, which means they didn't have anything to show. There were no screenshots, there were no videos, no demos, no models, no renders, nothing. It's just, hey, we have this idea. Here's some drawings that we've got. I need to see a little bit more if I'm going to invest in it. So anyway, now that we've seen it, I'm kind of disappointed. So there's that. But, you know, moving right along, let's shift gears a little bit. What else is going on, really? Well, still playing World of Tanks and War Thunder quite a bit. Probably a little bit more War Thunder than Tanks, just because I'm trying to learn the game. Still have a long ways to go. Please be patient with me. I am not putting out any guides in regards to War Thunder until you see me in ground forces, because I actually have a little bit more expertise when it comes to armored vehicles and land warfare, in the gaming sense, obviously. Not in real life. But you know, I just happen to be pretty good with that kind of thing, which is why I feel that I'm pretty decent with World of Tanks, even though it's a more arcadey type of game. You know, with War Thunder, I'm expecting a lot more realism, so I'm, of course, going to want to brush up a bit more on my vehicles. I've picked up some books in regards to armored vehicles and aircraft as well, just because I want to research both fields, as I do enjoy the aerial combat quite a bit, actually. Now, I didn't before, but I do now. So it's been a lot of fun, just trying to learn and read up about things and get into the history of the aircraft as well. Ram JB has been helping me quite a bit, but again, there's only so much you can teach to somebody that's just fresh and really doesn't understand how aircraft work, you know, in regards to just physics and whatnot. So it's gonna take some time. You know, when I release a video, don't look at it like it's a guide. Don't look at it like, you know, what's this guy? You know, it's just me having fun. It's a shared experience. And I do appreciate people trying to help me. But I'll also say be careful about how you try to critique somebody's flight or skills in any game. And not just me, but for other YouTubers out there, because I have friends out there that are making videos, and I'll read some of the comments, and sometimes people are just harsh, like, oh, you're doing this wrong. Well, how can you not know about this? And it's like, well, because everybody's allowed to be new to a game, because we haven't been playing this game since day one. So, you know, I mean, there's always going to be that learn. And when it comes to flying a plane, that's a huge learning curve, okay? Yeah, I can fly a helicopter in Battlefield 3, but it doesn't mean that I'm going to be able to jump into War Thunder and know everything there is about aerial combat and maneuvers and dynamics and physics and lift and drag, and every plane flies differently and all the nations have a different advantage, and it's just, come on, guys. I mean, relax a little bit. So, you know, there's a nice positive way to deliver critique. Oh, hey man, you know, it's good to see that you're trying it, but you might want to try this next time. Oh, this plane's actually good for this, but you know, good luck. You know, I mean, there's really nice ways to go about providing critique, and I'm not really saying it for me, because over the years I tend to, you know, to grow thicker skin, especially when you're on YouTube. You have to, because you're just subject to all kinds of criticism most of the time. And so for me, it's not a huge deal, but I see some friends of mine that end up just having tough times because they're just passionate. They love a game, and all of a sudden they get slammed in the comments because they didn't do what was right to those other players. So again, it's just video games, guys. Relax. At the end of the day, it should be the least of our concerns, especially considering all the things that are going on in the real world, you know, that place you go once you step outside your door. But so yeah, there's that. I'm just enjoying War Thunder for what it is. You're gonna see me mess up, but that's not preventing me from having a fantastic time and delivering high quality video and audio and an opinion that you'll never find anywhere else. But moving on from that, Twitch.tv. I haven't streamed in the past few days, but you know, I just don't want to go at it too hardcore because the focus is, of course, the YouTube channel. I've been trying to balance both things out, but you know, streaming can be actually quite exhausting, even though you might think that it's easier than uploading videos to YouTube. Technically, in some ways, yes, because you're not having to edit, render, upload, process, but you're having to interact with the community live and answer hundreds of questions and you know, really pay attention to the chat. At least that's what I do. I know most streamers just chill, they play their game and they don't talk to people. I know a lot of them are like that. They don't really care, whatever. But for me, the whole reason to live streaming is because of that community interaction. And otherwise, the whole process would just be kind of pointless. I mean, I don't have to live stream. I could just play my games for fun or make extra content for YouTube. But, you know, I felt the need and desire to be a little bit more in touch with everyone, and I think that that's a great way to do it. But I just want to manage how much time I spend on it. But you know, other than that, on the technical side of Twitch, we do have all of the resolutions available now. Source, high, medium, and low, which is a new system that they've rolled out, which is basically a different way of labeling what it used to be, although I've heard that the bit rates aren't exactly the same and maybe they're missing a resolution. But source is like 720p plus. High, I think, is what 720p was. Medium, some people are telling me, is 360 instead of 480, but I don't know. I haven't really verified that. Anyway, you guys can check it out and see what resolutions and bit rates work best for you when you're on there. Hopefully things will improve over time. I know they're wanting to get away from Flash and move more into HTML5. I hope YouTube actually starts doing that as well in the future. HTML5 and H.265 encoding, I think, is the way to go. Less bandwidth requirements. Hopefully it will allow YouTube to provide higher quality video, because if you guys could see the quality video I actually upload, and then YouTube takes it and just crushes it and compresses it and makes it look like muddy water compared to what I'm actually delivering, you would be shocked. I mean, you would end up with video that looks really, really close to the native gameplay itself. And it's just sad to see the final result on YouTube. But unfortunately, not everybody has fiber optic, and bandwidth is, of course, always a concern. I'm just tired of seeing YouTube focus on being an extension of Google Plus when they really need to focus on providing quality HD video. So I think that about wraps up everything I wanted to really discuss today. I am always keeping an eye out for new games to play, and I do research on a fairly regular basis in regards to games that I think will make an impact on the channel and Twitch, and that will just in general be fun for me to play. You know, I have a lot of things lined up. I have plans always. You know, I'm always working on trying to network with developers and publishers, and you know, find new and unique ways to bring you entertainment. So just always remember that being on YouTube is work outside of just playing a game and uploading a video. There's a lot that goes on behind the scenes that you never really hear about, and that's the way to be truly successful with it, is to make it a job in some respects. Yes, it's a job that you love to wake up to, but there are still certain things about it that keep it a job, you know. And I'm fine with it because, you know, again, I'm just really happy to be in the position that I am in. But, you know, with that said, I might take a look again at MechWarrior Online. I don't know. I think I've been waiting for that game to mature, and I think maybe it might be getting there. There's still some issues that I have with it. For example, the fact that it still has a windowed mode mech bay. I don't know why they do that. I think it's really annoying, and it makes filming that game very annoying, because if you think about it, you're in the game, you come out of the game and go to the garage, and then you have a window and then your desktop in the background. It really just messes with the composition of the video and the look and quality of the production. So I know you could probably hit Alt-Enter to full screen that, but it seems to minimize itself again once you step out of the game. So really, I would have to throw in a transition to the garage or something. But of course, no promises. We'll see how it goes. There are still some issues I have with that game. One of the major complaints for me is the environments are way too small. They're not very detailed. The level design just needs to change. They just need to overhaul their worlds, because you know, you've got these beautiful, well-designed mechs, and you throw them into these levels that just look so plain and boring, and there's no destructible terrain. You can't even run over a tree. A tree! Why don't the trees collapse? I mean, look at World of Tanks. It's a terrible game engine, but at least there's some destructibility. You can run over trees and fences and certain houses and things like that. I mean, how are you in this giant mech stomping all over the world and you can't run over a frackin' tree? And from what I've seen of the launch screen, they're still considering the game beta. It says MechWarrior Online beta, but really, I mean, at this point, really, they're charging, you know, for premium time. They're asking for your money. You know, we paid for these founders packages when the game came out, and now they're rolling out this new thing, this whole Project Phoenix Saber package thing or whatever. So they're asking for even more money. So is it really even beta at this point? I mean, is there an excuse to not have completed worlds and environments? I don't know. You know, I'm gonna wait to really hold back some of my opinions and rants for when I actually take another look at the game. But I'm not asking for much when I just want to stomp all over things in a giant mech. But, you know, hopefully I end up liking it, because I grew up with BattleTech and MechWarrior, and I think that this game has been a great step in the right direction. So I would like to play it a little bit more, because you'd think that I would be all over this. I love sci-fi, I love mechs, I like games that are like War Thunder and World of Tanks, and this is those games with mechs. So why am I not playing this game? And I think part of it has just always been the logistics between switching through the garage and having gameplay. But anyway, you know, I don't want to get too into that right now. We'll save it for later. But ladies and gentlemen, I think that's going to cover everything I really wanted to talk about today. I know, as I always say, there's probably something missing, but for now, I've said what must be said. So we're going to move on. And as always, thank you so very much for joining me. I will definitely see you on the next one.